Okay, so today we are going to talk about tracking and optimizing the user journey to see how you can best understand where traffic and conversion to your website and to your marketing goals may be further improved, depending on where you are looking at the whole journey. So a lot of times we talk to clients and managing their campaigns, we see a lot of the challenges lies in understanding exactly where to isolate the problem areas and also by isolating the problem areas where to actually make the improvements. So there's sometimes there can be a lot of confusions if you don't fully understand the user journey. So the first thing we want to be very clear about is in understanding the full user journey, the whole path or process that the user takes, from being exposed to your ads or marketing campaigns on Google or social media to coming to your website or landing page and finally taking an action to reach out to you, right? So with that in mind, let's look at a very simplified mapping of the user journey as per seen on the screen right now. Right. So the first thing is now your potential users or customers will see an ad that you run typically on Google or social media like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and so on. So they see the ad and they are interested in what you have to offer. All right. So they will click on the ad and then they will be brought to some destination. Most likely, in this case of the user journey that we are considering, most likely will be a landing page or your website itself, right? So in that, they will be brought to your website or landing page. And once they hit your website or landing page, then they will look at the information that's presented on your website or landing page and have a better understanding of is the solution that they're trying to look for something that you're actually offering, and or whatever you're offering, does it match the solution that they're trying to find to solve their pain point, right? Remember, every user is looking for a solution to solve their pain point, right? So it ultimately boils down to, are you having a solution that is solving their pain point? So assuming your solution as per presented on the website is what they are looking for, is the solution to their pain point, this is where the user would then take an action, right? Action can be in many forms depending on the nature of your business and depending on how you conduct your business. So for a lot of B2C businesses, if you're an e-commerce website, obviously the most obvious action would be a purchase, right? Uh, Completing the checkout process, making that order online. For a lot of B2B businesses, it could be that it is a request for quote, it is a inquiry submission, a lead submission, and so on. Now, even for some B2C businesses, if your services or solutions are customized or is a big ticket item that people are less likely to buy online, it could also be a form of lead or inquiry. Usually, it would be some form of appointment booking or a submission of a request for consultation call and so on and so forth. So once that is, th- once an action has been taken by the user, typically this is where the business receives the action. If it is an online purchase, the business receives a sales order and begins to process it. If it's a lead or inquiry, the business receives that notification and then the business sales process or consultation process can then get in touch with the customer, the user, and then continue on the sales process to actually eventually convert the interest into an actual customer, right? So this is a typical user journey. And the more important thing we want to look at, right, is throughout this user journey, what is actually being tracked for us to know whether our ad campaigns or our website are performing, right? So typically, if we are looking at running an ad on Google or social media, whenever the users or your target audience see an ad, we are tracking impressions, right? So we can see that what is being tracked is impressions as well as clicks, right? So impression basically is the number of views or the count of exposure that your ad campaign has been exposed or being made visible to your target audience. So from the impressions, now if someone sees your ad, that counts as an impression, and if they're interested in what you have to offer, they will click on it to go to your website or landing page, and that will register a click, right? And that's why ads are called pay-per-click advertising, right? Because you are being charged every time when someone clicks to visit your landing page or website. So the two most important things that we look at whenever we are running a ad campaign is to see the impressions and clicks that are being tracked, right? So obviously, the more impressions that you are able to generate with your ads, that means more people are exposed to your ad campaigns. On uh, and the other thing that we are looking at as well is the number of clicks, because it wouldn't make sense if you have a lot of impressions but have very little clicks. If you have a lot of impressions and very little clicks, that usually means your ad campaigns are probably not really speaking directly to your target audience. That also probably means that whatever you're putting on your ad copy might not resonate with the actual pain points that your users are trying to solve, right? So these are the two things that we look at. And of course, if you know your equations, um, from clicks and impressions, we would then be able to derive the click-through rate or CTR. All right, and the CTR is usually expressed as a percentage. So obviously the higher the percentage of your CTR, it generally signals the better the performance of your ad campaigns, right? So once we get through that stage to the website, now this is where we are also looking at if your website is performing or not. Because you can have a very good performing ad campaign that is generating good number of impressions, that is also generating a good number of clicks, which gives you a good CTR ratio. But you may end up not having actual action taken. You know, you may not have leads or inquiries or purchases, right? So this is where we have to further look into, okay, what could be the issue? And a lot of times, if you're getting a low count in terms of your lead and inquiries or purchases, that usually means that there's something that needs to be done on the website itself. Because if you look at the journey, if you're able to already have a good number of impressions generated by your ads, and from those impressions your ads are already able to attract a good number of traffic, that means good number of clicks to your website, that generally means your ad campaign is performing quite all right. But why isn't then that performance giving you the leads or inquiries that you want? That could probably be once your users click on the ads and come to your website and they look at the website, maybe there's a mismatch in terms of what they think your um, product or services can offer them, right? Or maybe the user experience on your website is clunky. A lot of times you can have a really good ad campaign, but because your website are creating unnecessary obstacles or creating too many steps for the user, and the user, you know, could lose interest, or they might be frustrated and they end up deciding not to take action, right? So that could be the kind of scenarios or situations that you want to think about and consider and see if there are areas to improve on that. And of course, then assuming they are looking at your website and the materials on your website, and they decided that they like what they have seen and they want to take the action. So on that note, right, on the website itself, this is what we'll be tracking. We'll be tracking things like, you know, clicks to WhatsApp, clicks to your messenger, clicks to your chatbot, or, you know, submissions to your forms, or, you know, order confirmation action, right? So from those actions, right, from those actions taken, the business should receive all the necessary notification that indicate that your customers have taken action and you're now have to go to the next step of the sales process, right? And typically, the kind of actions that a business would receive would be things like, you get messages on your WhatsApp, you receive form submissions in your CRM or on your website backend, you receive emails or calls, and if you have a physical location, customers may come directly to your physical outlet and pay you a visit. Some businesses, you may not have a direct sales process. Even you're an e-commerce, there could be a staggered layers of journey to go through. So the user could sign up for an account first before they upgrade to some sort of paid packages or paid options that you offer. So user signups could be another indication of people taking up your offer, taking up your products or services. And of course, if you're a direct e-commerce business, sales orders would be the most direct indication of your product being well received, and of course your ad performance, being validated. So these are the things that are being tracked in each step of the journey. And w- depending on where you're having issues with the tracking or the numbers, and that's where we go into the deep dive of exactly where the weakness is, and figure out where you could actually improve. So then, how do we look at all these data? Where are all these data being tracked? So some of the key analytics you'll be looking at is, if you're looking at impression and clicks, this is usually the direct analytics provided by the ad platform. So if it's Google ad campaign that you're running, then obviously you can get all these analytics in Google Ads itself. If you're running a social media campaign on Meta, then of course it will be your Meta Business Suite, your Meta Ad Manager. You can look at the impressions and clicks from there. If we are talking about the tracking of the clicks, the submissions, the call to actions, as well as the business notifications, these are usually found in your GA4, your the latest version of Google Analytics, right? These are all can be found there, provided they are already configured and set up properly, ties into your website, which is we can explore those in detail in another video, but these are the things that you will most be able to see in your GA4. And of course, for the final portion of the data, the actual messages, submissions, signups, and things like that, if your website is an e-commerce enabled website, a lot of all this information, such as user sign up and sales order, would be directly inside your e-commerce website backend. Otherwise, some businesses, they would have set up their own CRM. It could be HubSpot, it could be Airtable, it could be a basic Microsoft Excel, or a Google spreadsheet, right? So whatever the case, so we use the term CRM as a generic collective term to describe uh, the the platform, or the information gathering that the business would use to collect all this information. All right. So the most important thing that you want to look at is, now, given the understanding of this user journey and how to improve, or what to improve and where to improve, if you are sensing weakness, or you are looking at the data and you see that there is weakness that needs to be improved. All right. So let's break it down. If you're not getting impressions or clicks, you're not getting enough impressions or clicks, or rather, let's not start from there. Let's take it all the way to the end, right? And then we work backwards, because for most business owners, your ultimate concern isn't the number of impressions or the number of clicks. Your ultimate concern is, are you getting more sales? Are you getting more customers? Are you getting more leads, right? So let's work backwards from the end and see where each of the potential indication of issues will arise, and from there, how can we solve the problem, right? So typically, when you are having a challenge, in the sense that you're not getting enough sales, you're not getting enough signups, you're not getting enough leads or inquiries, right? And it makes you feel frustrated. The immediate thing you want to look at is, okay, let's look at the numbers. So obviously, as a business, you are not you are not getting enough of this, right? You're not getting enough of this, and then you want to see, okay, where is the problem? So the first thing you want to look at is, okay, if you're getting a low count on this, are you getting a low count on this, right? Now, as strange as it may sound, if you're getting, there would be situations where you are getting a high count of this, but a low count on this, right? So how do you know if you are getting a low or high count on this? You look at your GA4 data, right? So you look at your GA4 data to see if there's a lot of clicks or form submissions or orders being tracked or registered in GA4. Now, if you have a high count, let's say for example, right? Let's say you have 100 clicks to your WhatsApp number, but in actual fact, based on your actual data, you're not getting any messages. You're not getting any direct messages being opened up in your WhatsApp number, right? So you have a very low count here that does not match with the number of clicks, right? Typically, if you have a high count here and a low count here, most likely the problem actually lies somewhere within the process, somewhere between the website and the process. Okay, it could be that the users that you are trying to attract have a problem with clicking to website. Sorry, have a problem clicking to the WhatsApp. Maybe that's not their preferred form of um, getting in touch with the business, right? So that's why if they click on the WhatsApp, right, and then they realize that they have to take a few more steps to actually click through to activate the WhatsApp message interface. Maybe that's something that is stopping them from continuing and completing the journey. So while the click is being registered, the business end up not getting the actual WhatsApp message being sent. So that could be an an issue, right? And in that case, you probably want to think about, well, is WhatsApp message the best way to entice or invite the user to get in touch with you? Could it be a direct call? Would it be better, right? And things like that, right? So typically, when you have a high number here and you have a low number here, there is some problem with the process. All right. It could also be um, a problem with data collection, right? So these are more on the technical or more on the user experience end of things, right? So that's one area to look at. Now, of course, if you have low actual leads and low signups and your clicks numbers are also low, then of course this and this correspond to each other. Then the issue is not here. We have to then move further upstream to see what's the issue. Okay. Now, if this data and this data are more or less aligned, so let's say both of them are low, then you want to look at what is your impression and click data, right? So if both your data set here and your data set here are low, but you have a high count of impression and high count of click, that means people are interested in what you are offering, or at least they're interested in what your ad campaigns is offering. So they click on your ad campaigns to come to your website, but they are not translating to actual clicks. They're not translating to actual actions taken, right? And you can see that from the GA4. Now, usually, if that's the case, if the impression and clicks is high and this is low, technically, then that problem is most likely on the website itself, right? And that's why you see that we are marking it here. These two phases, any problem here will be most likely a website problem. So, what could be the problem? It could be that your UX, UI, that means your user experience, your user interface, are no longer working. Maybe your users prefer something that your competitors are doing, which you're not. It could be an outdated interface. It could be um, information that they no longer find interesting or relevant to their pain point, right? or it could be a mismatch in terms of what they assume your ad campaigns is talking about, and then when they come to your website or landing page, it doesn't give them the actual thing that they are trying to look for. So there is a mismatch, and when that happens, right, they are probably not interested to go further, right? So in this case, it most likely would be an issue that you need to work out on the website. Could be a design issue, could be the way you present the information, or rather, it could be not enough information to convince the um, interested visitor to take further action down the line. All right. So this is, and in fact, I think, or at least most of the business that we have come across, typically this is where the problem lies, right? Unfortunately, a lot of businesses think that once you have an ad campaign going, and if it's generating impressions and clicks, and once they reach the website, it should automatically translate to more enquiries, more leads, more purchases, and so on. But unfortunately, that it's a slightly more complicated than that, because people do want to also have the same expectation being matched. They also want to have a good experience on your website before they decide to take action on it, right? So it doesn't really always means that just because you have a ad campaign being turned on, it will automatically translate to more sales or more enquiries, right? Certain improvements or optimization still have to be considered on your website. And how do we know that it is the website that needs to be optimized and not the ad campaigns? Well, that's why we are looking at the data that's being tracked, and by breaking down exactly where the data does not tally or fall off, we will know exactly where's the area to improve, right? So in this case, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a low count on the final actions and a low count on the call to action that the web your visitors are taking, and yet you have a good amount of impression and clicks, or your clicks and impressions are improving over time, month by month, then that would usually mean your weakness is somewhere within the website area, and then you have to then look at what are the obstacles, or what are the friction points on your website that you can remove to make it an easier, more frictionless experience for your site visitors to take action once they land on your website. Okay. Now, finally, if all your three sets of data are not performing, meaning to say that you didn't receive much uh, actual conversions, and from your GA4 data, the clicks, the submissions are equally low, and then you look at your ad, analytics, and your impressions and clicks are equally low as well, then obviously um, the problem would then be your ad campaign. That means your ad campaign is not performing. It is either being outbid or outmatched by your competitors in the market, right? And so typically, how would we know that we know what to fix? Now, in the case of Google Ads, it's probably a slightly more obvious, because you know in Google Ad itself, you are able to see, besides your the impression and clicks that your ads are generating, you are also be able to see some auction insights where we Google shows you how your ad campaign performs against some of the competitors that are similarly bidding for the keywords that you're bidding for, right? So in from there you can have an understanding of, okay, am I losing out by a lot to a certain competitor? Am I getting enough market share, or or am I being outbidded? So from there, you have a clue of where you stand in terms of the advertising landscape, right? But typically, if your impression is low and your clicks is low, then it's something that you need to work on the ad campaign itself, before going into fixing the website, right? So a lot of times when we help businesses start an ad campaign, typically how we would structure the process is the first thing we want to make sure is this is working, right? Because again, we live in a world of attention, right? The whole idea is if you are able to get the attention of the market, if you are able to be top of mind and you're showing up with your ad campaign wherever your target users are, there's a good chance that a portion of that attention will translate to people who are interested in what your ads have to offer and then click on it to go to your website, right? So usually the initial phase of a campaign journey, how we set up for our clients would be to make sure that we are getting high number of impressions and high number of clicks for the campaign vis-a-vis compared to known competitors in the market as per the data provided to us by Google Ads, right? So that's the number one thing. We want to make sure that we are getting good amount of impression and good amount of clicks first. Once we have that, and once we are able to find a way to stabilize that and grow it month to month, on a steady upward uh, trajectory, right? So we know that then the ad campaign itself is largely stable. Then we turn our attention to the website itself. Okay, so once you have good amount of impression and good amount of clicks, then you look at now, is that high number of impressions and clicks translating to actual actions being taken? So if they are translated to actions being taken, then everything is good. Monitor and maintain and try to tweak to broaden up the market or scale up the ad campaign even further to attract more attention, which in turn attracts more impression and more clicks, which should also in turn get you more leads and inquiries, right? But let's say if you're already getting high number of impressions and high number of clicks, but your actions are having a low count, right? And then that really would mean that there is something that needs to be looked at on the website itself. It could be that you're asking the user to jump through too many hoops, right? And that actually is a rather typical scenario. A lot of businesses like to collect data that actually they do not need at that instance in time, or it is irrelevant or not that relatable to the user who's trying to, get through an initial sign up or registration or an inquiry submission, right? So try to avoid asking too many questions or trying to get too much data when you have absolutely no need for those data at that point in time, right? The whole idea of since you are already invested in running ad campaigns, which means you're putting money into your advertising, you should make full use of that investment to acquire customer data in the shortest time and as fast as possible, right? You don't want it to drag because the more friction you create in the user experience and user journey, especially on your own website, you are kind of, wasting money in that sense, right? So if you are then moving again more towards the conversion end, if you are having high impression and high clicks, and then you have high number of actions taken as per recorded in your GA4, but your business is actually getting uh, very little actual notification on those actions, right? That means your data in GA4 does not translate to the actual data you're seeing on your business end. Then, of course, a lot of times the issue could be there is a disconnect between the website and the process, right? One of the things that we came across with some of our with clients is that some of the and it happens especially with situations where some of the call to action actually directs the user to an external tool or third party tool that your business have no control over. So in a way, you are spending money getting people who are interested to come in, but you're sending them to another website or another platform that you have no access, you have no control over, and that is a wasted opportunity. So a lot of times our advice is, as much as possible, you want to keep all the interactions on your website, all the interactions on a tool or platform that you have absolute 100% access and control over, right? Even if you want to send the users to an external tool or survey or questionnaire for further validation or further understanding of the user profile, you should still capture critical customer data on your own website first before sending them away to a third party tool, right? So, for example, um, right, a lot of people these days will use commonly use things like calendar appointment in sending them to a platform like Calendarly for the user to make appointment, right? While it may seem uh, effortless or it may seem streamlined and optimal from your perspective as a business operator, a lot of times users don't like it. All right, a lot of times users may not like it. All right, some users do. Again, depends on your geographical location, depends on the audience you're targeting. Right, some users may not like the idea of jumping through that hoop to book an appointment with you. Right, so in those situations, if you find yourself not getting enough appointments booked or inquiries because and while you have good data coming in from the front in the sense of high impressions, high clicks, and so on, you might want to relook that conversion journey. So instead of directly sending your users to a Calendly booking for them to, you know, um, self-service so-called, you might want to just straight up capture them in a very simple inquiry or contact form on your website first, right? Just get their name, email, phone number, the most critical pieces of information, capture them on your website so that you have the data with you. And then set up an automation where you send them a welcome email or you send them some brief information in an automated email the moment they submitted their data to you. And in that automated email, you can then encourage them to use the calendar link to make a appointment booking with you. So I would rather do it this way, to make sure that even if later the interest drops off or they find it too troublesome to make a booking through a tool like Calendarly, at least you already have the customer data, so you can subsequently activate your sales process to follow up with them, or to check with them and see if there's a way to actually interact further. So that will be an example of a change, right? Same thing with if you're sending customers to an external survey tool, an external questionnaire tool, right? Sometimes you don't know whether the customer have time to go through the entire survey or go through the entire questionnaire. Maybe they'll just give up halfway. And then if they give up halfway, you lost that lead forever because you didn't capture their data right at the start. So again, in that kind of situation, we would recommend getting their critical customer data right on your website first, having them stored in your database before setting up an automated email to send them the actual link to an external survey or an external questionnaire, right? So that's how you want to look at it. Yeah, so that pretty much sums up the overall user journey and the specific areas to track. And based on the data they are tracking, based on the weakness you are seeing, where would you identify and isolate the areas to improve? All right. So for those of you who are facing similar issues or challenges with your current lead generation or your sales performance, this is probably something to look at and try to identify. And hopefully, this will help you improve the performance on both your ad campaigns and your website conversion.